Hello everybody, welcome back to another live stream. First and foremost, before we dive into the show, I want to apologize for, I think now 2 weeks in a row, I have missed or let the stream just not happen. So the first week just wasn't in the card, so I rescheduled it to the next week, forgot about it. You guys showed up and there was no stream, so I apologize for that. Good to see everyone. We have several familiar faces in the chat, including Dive In with James. What's up, James? Good to see you as always. Flips Media, something in another language I can't deal with, or at least read. Carson, Doughboy God, good to see you, Doughboy. Brandon, what's up, brother? Jeremy, Buckaroo Brogan, that's an amazing name. Love that. Real Outdoor Junkies, Listen Bird, The Shit Show. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Good to see you all. So the way the show works, and I haven't done it in a while, or this year, have I done it this year even? I'm not even sure. But we just answer questions. So if you have any questions pertaining to production, video production, really anything, I'll do my best to answer them for you. I've got a whiteboard today, just in case we need to do that. We've got camera 2 all queued up here, so that's kind of fun. I don't know why this looks terrible, that particular camera. Apparently my LUT's not quite right. And then we're going to pay a couple quick bills here. So let's see, number 4, nope, 3, there we go. If you enjoy the videos on the channel and want to support the channel, there's a couple ways you can do that. Number 1 is buying used gear. We sell gear that we're not using, and we also make some things. So there's a link in the description going over to Gear Focus, where you can check out all of our used equipment, map boxes, lens adapters, monitors, cameras, and a ton right now of E-mount lenses and an aperture light. So if that's something you're into, you can check that out. We also sell camera guides and LUTs. So if you go to academy.dslrvideoshooter.com, that's also in the description. You can check out our LUTs. We just updated the A7S3, or excuse me, the S-Log3 LUT pack with a bunch of new goodies, so you can check that out. Or if you just want to learn more about your camera, we've got a whole bunch of courses over there. So with that, all that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the chat here and see what you guys have. If you have any questions. Let's see. First time for me. Welcome, Steve. Oh, we already have a super chat. Incredible. Caffeinated Cameras, $10.99. Thank you, Caffeinated, for not being dead and actually being here. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And sorry about that. That was, yikes. Big whoopsie. Okay. Wow. Good to see everyone. Essential Filmmaker, what's up? Hello, everybody. Pav, what's up? Good to meet you in Tokyo. Oh, yeah, that's right. Good to see you. Okay, let's just jump in right here with Carson. Recommendations for budget cine lenses for the S5 II. So Panasonic makes those, or Lumix makes those 1.8 f1.8 lenses. That would be a great place to start if you're interested in autofocus. If you're looking for manual focus cinema lenses, Josh, let's see, what's his channel? Is it actually his name? Let's see, Josh. Let me find his channel here. 1 second. I'm trying to remember. There's a set of lenses. They're by 7 artists, and actually I have one of their Super 35 ones right here. Super fast lenses. But they make full frame lenses, so let me just confirm something here. Oh, nuts. Josh, what's your channel? Is it just your name? I'm forgetting Josh's last name. Not Josh Yo. Going to Instagram on my phone here to triple check here. FMC, Josh FMC. So let's go over here. Let's hop over to YouTube. Josh FMC. Yeah. This feller right here. Of course, there's going to be an ad. Josh Cameron. Cameron, there's his last name. Check out his channel. He has a video on lenses, several lens recommendations, really, but he talks about these lenses at length. So if you're looking for budget recommendations, honestly, anything Lumix, he's crushing it over there, and he's pretty much exclusive a Panasonic gentleman. So that's what I would recommend for that. Right, back on to the questions. What do we got? Here we go. Krishna, hey, I've been shooting music videos on the A7R III. I'm planning to rent the FX6 for the weekend. Will there be a huge learning curve, and can I put that on a gimbal? Depends on the gimbal. Learning curve, a little bit with the menus and whatnot. If you're not familiar with cinema cameras, there's going to be a lot more to work with. But shoot in S-Log3, S-Cam at 3.cine, flexible ISO, and you should be good to go. Great camera, super duper dope camera. Good to see everybody. Good to see everyone. Which gimbal is best under $400? I actually don't do a lot of gimbal content, so I'm really not the guy to ask for that. Oh no, the painted camera. Yep, here it is in all its glory. GH5 in a slightly off-white. It's growing on me, the color. It's not white. Here's that whiteboard. This is white, so this is kind of a cream, but the color's really growing on me. It's kind of like a desert. Someone said it looked tactical, and I agree with them. It's kind of like a desert sands kind of look. But yeah, there it is. I'll set it over here just so Buckaroo Brogan can enjoy that ruined camera. Decoded Memories, what's up? No, no international supporting right now. International shipping right now, excuse me. What else? What else? DJ Suckertash, what's going on? Fujifilm video sharpness settings. That's a good question, Dave. I haven't really shot on Fuji, but I wouldn't have any issues with just the stock settings, if I remember correctly. Sony LUT is my go-to, highly recommend. Thank you, dive in with James or James. Best lightweight compact C-stand in your opinion, which holds the VL150. So I would probably go with the Matthews. Are they just the Matthews C-stands? Let's look that up real quick. A buddy of mine had a whole bunch of them back in the day. So let's go here. Nope, dadgummit, wrong one. Matthews C-stand. I think it's just their basic C-stand. It's actually really compact. Yeah, probably that. A VL150. Your other option is, what's the name of it? Dadgummit. They're like super duty, heavy duty stands. I'm trying to remember the name. They're more in the music industry. Rats, I can't remember. But there's a company. If you go to Jem Schofield's channel, the C47, he's talked about them. Or you can ask me later on social and I can look it up. But that's what I would recommend is it's on the tip of my tongue. But they're really, really compact stands. But yeah, probably the Matthews. Okay, Myro. I'm having trouble with S-Log3 and A7 IV. No matter what I do, there is always noise, even after applying phantom LUTs, and even with shots that have overexposed. Am I too picky? Potentially not. I would, so check my channel. There's a video that didn't get a lot of love, but it's, I think, 1 or 2 videos old. It's how I go about color grading. Watch that. Still overexposed. I'd recommend overexposing by 1.5 stops or around there. And if you watch that video, I show you how I use my conversion LUT, but how I apply a curve before the conversion LUT to correct that overexposure. And pretty much, I use 2 curves in fact. Pretty much that deals with all my issues. But you definitely want to overexpose. I almost hit 2 stops overexposed for all of my stuff here on the channel. So maybe you are, you know, if there's nothing you can do, maybe you are too picky. But honestly, I feel like you should get pretty clean results. Unless everything you film is at night and it's just super low light stuff, in which case, you know, it's going to be rough. Sorry, James, not as of yet. We're trying to iron out how we can do this on a larger scale, and shipping internationally is just not in the cards right now. Any opinions on the R5? I don't really have too much to say. I know a lot of people have used it. I've not. I've messed with the R5C, owned one for a short period of time. Awesome camera. But for now, I'm Team Sony. If you wanted to use a wireless lav and you have the FX6 and an A7 IV with the XLR K3M, would you get something like the UMP Dual 27 dual channel? Yes. I would definitely, John, if you're going to be in the Sony ecosystem, 100% go with those wireless kits. Those are awesome, super great. The DJI mic is fine if you're like vlogging and it's right here, but anytime you want to mix things up, I would go with the Sonys instead. Ian, what's going on? Do you have an experience using the Comica audio gear? If so, what are your thoughts? Seems like good budget options. I have not, but I think they're probably a fantastic. There's a bunch of companies that are with different names, very similar, and my guess is they're pretty much the same. I've used some of their like microphones way back in the dark ages, but I would say for check some reviews. But I think you'll probably be fine on the budget stuff. Let's see, 360 cameras. So I have not used any 360 cameras, so I'm not the guy to talk to. Potato Jet is all over that stuff, though. Having an issue using the Canon EF on FX30 last week with a Mikey VND EF to E adapter. Go into deep PDF mode. Yeah, I couldn't tell you, man. I have not used that adapter. Make film now, make art now. Oh, you guys are talking about the Josh thing, right? Opinions, predictions on the FX30 firmware update. Still think it's unbelievable that it doesn't have a shutter angle. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, they clearly are doing updates, so that's fantastic. Maybe we'll see an update for that. I'm not sure. Have I tried the small rig video light yet? No. They've offered to send it, but I have not gone down that road with them. Maybe at some point. 2 questions. Do you have any LUTs for Canon? Can you talk about filters? Filters for indoors. So we do have one Canon C-Log 3 LUT. We're going to be releasing a C-Log 2 LUT. And all these LUTs use the same technique. So color's pretty much uniform across all cameras. And by filters, do you mean like lens filters? Next week's video is going to be a really cool lens filter that you'll probably want to be checking out. But I don't know if you're talking about like LUT filters or actual lens filters, but yeah, let me know. What V-mount battery would you recommend for the Amaran 60D handheld rig? I've not used the handheld rig. And have people tried the small rig batteries? Because that should work. Those are really nice and lightweight. So without testing it, I'm going to say the small rig, what is it? The 60 watt or 50 watt batteries, 50 watt hour batteries. Spectrum line. Thank you, Caffeinated. Do you have a channel, Caffeinated Cameras? I'm going to have to check this out. Filmmaking Hobby Time. Man, look at all these channel names. What's the best gimbal under 500? I don't do gimbals, so I couldn't tell you right now. Scott, good to see you, boss. It's been a while. Thanks for the painting video. I had always wondered about the red camera in the back. Yep, it's right there. Whoop, right over there. Also, if you guys have any questions and there's something that has to do with the set, I've now tethered my phone to Ecamm Live so we can walk around live, which is pretty fun. We're not just stuck here at the desk. Shane, how would you rate the Canon R5C? Heard it is power hungry. Man, that thing destroys LPE6 batteries. I mean, the camera is phenomenal. There's only 2 things that bug me. The HDMI mini or micro, which is just silly, and the fact that you... It blows my mind that you have to have a battery or power in the camera's battery grip and USB-C to unlock all the features. I feel like if you use a dummy battery in the grip of the camera, that should be plenty enough juice if you're using like a V-mount battery going into that to do whatever it's got to do. But for whatever reason, Canon is forcing everyone to use the USB-C, which is just silly. Love the color of the paint. Awesome. Thank you. Starting a production company with a couple pals. Any advice for very young production company? Get lots of work and don't get caught up on gear. Don't go into debt. Don't feel like you have to rent a big warehouse, have a ton of gear, and spend all this money on branding and all this. Just get out in the world and start making content or do productions that make other businesses money, and you'll be fine. But there's a lot of this, like this, especially Instagram and stuff. It makes it really, a lot of sex appeal to like, have a sweet truck and it's loaded with gear and everything's cool and it's all showy. All that matters is that stories are being told, that work for people and actually do something other than, look pretty, right? So if you do that, you'll be fine. But do lots of work, find a way to meet needs of businesses, and you guys will do great. Then you can buy the fancy trucks and have a fleet of grip trucks and, go nuts. But start with that. Best run and gun picture profile for the Sony FX3, FX30. I'm going to go with S-Log3 100% all the time. If you want a good run and gun setup, plug. I have a LUT pack, and there's also a false color in there. So you can actually load it onto your camera. FX30 and both those cameras you can load the false color on. You can turn it on, immediately see if your highlights are blowing. It'll be red, or if skin tones are good, they'll be green. You're done. And then in post, you slap the same LUTs on there, and you're good to go. So, but even if you don't use my LUTs, S-Log3, if you learn how to expose that, which really isn't that hard, just don't overexpose, then you're good to go, and you'll have so much more flexibility. If you go with anything else, unless you can't grade or edit at all, if you go with anything else, you're immediately taking all of this and you're just cutting off the top and the bottom, and you're just not going to have as many options to post. Your sun's going to be blown out. It's just not going to be a good time. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate that. I have the Canon R6 II, and the shadows and C-Log are super noisy. Any exposure settings that I could use to fix that issue? Overexpose. So figure out, pretty much if I'm filming not people, I just go as high as I can without overexposing and push it down in post. If you're filming people, you want to make sure the skin isn't too high. But really, overexposing does wonders. And this might be a little controversial because I know some people say this is incorrect, but from my testing, even if you have to raise your ISO, overexposing will reduce noise. So I've done tests where I expose correctly, and then I do the same exact shot, but I use my ISO to overexpose. And then when I push it down to post, it's still cleaner in the shadows. So I would say just overexpose, overexpose, overexpose. Thinking about the Sigma 18 to 35 1.8 for the $543. Worth the extra cash to buy new. Dude, buy used. I buy so much used stuff. And honestly, if you're buying from someone that's got a reputable rating and they have a return policy, like on eBay, if you have the option to do a 30-day return, I've had no problems with that. Cheap COB bicolor light, Amaran, 100, 200, 60, all the X versions, really nice. Watch your video on color grading S-Log3. Do you feel that Final Cut is limiting, or if you found your workarounds get the job done? I've had no problems using Final Cut. Obviously, there's way more you can do in DaVinci Resolve, but yeah, I've had no problems using that workflow. Someone even emailed me, and apologies if you're in the chat and I don't remember your name, saying that you can use adjustment layers too. But yeah, otherwise you can use the exact same workflow in Resolve, as well as way more flexibility. Any videos coming up in terms of audio? There's a couple on the sheet or on my list, but I'm waiting for something that might happen in the industry first before I proceed with them, because something might change what I would do, and hopefully all of that will just go away and we won't have to be cryptic here before long. 4D Flex looks super cool. I think it's really versatile. There's a reason Sony did it with their Venice camera, so I'd love to see that on something that isn't that expensive. So yeah, super cool. Bought the OCT5 after watching video. Great monitor, great review. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Camera Junkie. So kind. Samantha, what's up? Ooh, that's a good question. S5 II or FX30? Full frame versus Super 35, you got to figure that out first. This is going to be pretty much, maybe not controversial, but I'm going to go with FX30 because, first of all, I'm in the Sony ecosystem. Secondly, the S5 is just not quite there for me autofocus-wise. And I use autofocus a lot. If you don't, that's totally cool. But I prefer how reliable Sony's system is right now when it comes to autofocus. And I just love that camera. I love Super 35. It gives you so many cool lens options. So yeah, for me it's FX30. Matt Gray, what's up, Matt? Just dropping in to show love. $20 donations. Thank you so much, Matt. Really appreciate it, man. Good to see you. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be at NAB, so if you guys are going to be at NAB, let me know. Maybe we can do like a mini meetup somewhere. Pick a booth and all hang out there, catch up, see each other in person would be great. Scott's dropping some info on overexposing. What's up, Fabio? Thank you for the kind words. Appreciate that. Is there a big difference between ProRes HQ and ProRes RAW? Trying to decide between Blackmagic Video Assistant and Atemus. I mean, ProRes RAW is RAW. ProRes HQ is not. ProRes, honestly, I'm not into that external HDMI recording stuff unless you're going into Premiere, because you can do so much with that, right? They have great noise reduction. ProRes RAW, it's really noisy. Yes, the color's great, but I'd prefer just a recording camera and not mess with that stuff. All right, where were we? Thank you for the ice on the S-Log3. I'll check the video. Oh, sweet, sweet, sweet. Haven't tried applying exposure correction before the LUT. Yes, so conversion LUTs just convert Rec 709, or sorry, log to Rec 709 and the color spaces. So if you're going to be tweaking things, you want to do that before the LUT. And it's kind of, it's not, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of like adjusting your exposure on your camera, because you're darkening things and then it's getting converted. So it's not at all, but yeah, makes a big difference. Definitely mess around with stuff before your LUT. All right, I'm wondering, have your Vlog LUT pack using the false color? Maybe I'm a super noob, or am I shooting product B-roll? What is the best way to use false color LUT? Am I aiming for light green? That is a great question. All right, so the way I designed those false color LUTs is there's only two colors, green and red. Two colors of green for correct and overexposed skin, but the red is just your highlight. So the way I film pretty much everything is, number one, I jack my exposure as high as I can, and I check for highlights. So if there's any red, I bring it down until I get rid of the red. Sometimes you just have to let it go. If you're pointing your camera and the sun's in the background, the sun's going to win every time. So it's just going to be blown out. But yeah, if I'm filming like a tabletop, let's go to this shot. If I'm filming this right here, I'm going to go until this turns red, and then I'm going to back it off a little bit. That way I know this isn't overexposed. Like right now, this is not overexposed. If I go like this, it might get overexposed, but once you're done with that, you're good to go. As long as no one's hands in there, if you're filming like a product, like this camera, and it's not red on the false color, you're done. Now, if there's a person's hands in here, you want to check for clipping, but you also want to make sure that their skin isn't too high. And that's why I have green on my false colors. So there's two greens on the false color LUTs that I include with the LUT pack. One is light green and one is dark green. Dark green is going to give you the white paper of the manufacturer. So Panasonic, if you're filming with Vlog, they want, skin or a 18% gray to be at certain points. So my dark green color in my false color will give you Panasonic's numbers. The light green in the false color is about a stop or two over, like 1.5 stops over. And that's what I use. So I make sure skin is at that light green color. So if I was filming this shot right here, all this highlights on my skin, the brightest part of my skin, I would want to make sure that's light green. And most of my face is light green. But I would also check for red overexposed spots. That's how I go about it. So again, if there's no people in the shot and you're just filming an object, overexpose, make sure you're not clipping, done. If there's people in there, make sure that the skin is within a certain range, and for my false color, that's the light green. So that's how I go about it, and that's why I made that thing in the first place, is most false color, there's like 25 colors it feels like, and you're always trying to decipher what's what, there's multiple grays, so I just wanted red, green, done. Hopefully that makes sense. Right, so let's move on here. Garried. Are you looking for protege? I'm trying to learn as much as I can. Willing to work for free. Nice. I wish, but I'm just trying to get things done over here. I wish I would love to do some kind of apprenticeship program. Maybe someday. Do I think 32-bit float is worth it? If I was out in the field filming documentaries and things, absolutely. For stuff like this, once you get your levels dialed in, I know if I set this microphone in this position and turn my knob to 46, I think it is, on our mix pre, I'm not going to have any issues. So for that, no, I don't need the extra file size. But if I'm filming out in the field, yes. All right. What else we got here? For those staying with DSLR for a while, I have many EF lenses. Any recommendations for Canon DSLR as keepers? I mean, a lot of Canon's L stuff is still, or EF lenses are still fantastic. But yeah, I'll let people drop their favorites. Monitor calibration tool. That's a good question. I'm trying to remember, what is it? The Spider Pro. I've used that for monitors. Eventually, I just ended up going with all Apple stuff, and I know that's just a cop-out, but I've had really good results going with that. Okay. Film some control indoor scenes with what should be optimal settings. So I'll try to check that out. Cool. Lots of love. Love it. Yes, lens filters. Okay, yep, we're going to talk about that soon. Love smaller battery. Way outperforms a KMTV. Good to know. I haven't tried the Mark II of that monitor, but I imagine it's going to be fine. Sea Frog houses? I don't know what that is. Oh, Brandon. Got it, bro. That's right. Good to see you, man. Sorry, I was brain fart. Everyone should check out Brandon's channel, Caffeinated Cameras. He's a good dude. And yeah, it's good to be here, man. Good to see you. Let's see. Paul, actually, Brandon or Caffeinated Cameras can answer this because he shoots on Komodos. I mean, for me, with really any camera, it's going to be get your exposure correct. And with that camera in particular, I'm sure there's little quirks people can share with you. But yeah, exposure. Don't think you just because you have RAW, you're gold. Thanks, man. Really appreciate that. Yes, you've been around for a while. Hair still following. Nice. Man, am I that far behind? James is wanting a studio tour. Sea Frog's housing. I don't know what that is. Oh, we got a super chat. Let me jump down here. I'm a little far behind, guys. Sorry about that. 50 NOKs. Do you know if the S5 II works in ProRes RAW in the Ninja 5 original, or do you need a Ninja 5 Plus? I can't find this information anywhere. So first and foremost, you have to get the X, the S5 II X, to get ProRes RAW. The normal S5 II does not have RAW. At least that's what they told me at launch. Secondly, when it comes to which one you need, go to Atem's website, search for S5 IIX, and every camera that comes out, they usually create a page where they say, okay, here's what you can do with our recorders and which ones will do what. My guess is the original Ninja will work, but you may not have like 60 frames per second. It might only go up to 30. So check their website or shoot them an email, and they should be able to take care of you. Boom. Caffeinated Cameras coming in hot with the good Komodo action. Brian, for video recording at a church, would you choose the FX30 or S5 II? Again, for me, it's going to be FX30, especially if you eventually get into like SDI workflows, because you can come out of the... Sorry, it's above me. I keep thinking it's right here. You can come out of the FX30 via SDI with an adapter. And I mean, this probably will change, but just money-wise, Panasonic cameras just don't appreciate well. Depreciate? if you look at what you buy a Panasonic camera for and then a couple years later what it's worth, big yikes, whereas Sony's going to take a little better care of you. And that's probably going to change now that they have these, the new focus and whatnot. People want a studio tour. Okay, maybe we'll plan that because it's trashed right now. Maybe I'll show it to you. Let's see, what time is it? 4:33. Let me catch up a little bit. Maybe we'll walk around. It's a mess, but it's real. What's your main editing computer right now? Any thoughts on Base Max Studio for editing? Okay, so I actually have been shopping and looking for a new machine, and I'm thinking Mac Studio as well. Maybe not the base. I think I'm getting one spec bump when it comes to the CPU and GPU, and I'm leaving RAM at 3200, so pretty much base or mid-tier, I guess. I'm using an Intel Mac. Here, let's just do this. Forget it. Let me just real quick before we do this tour. Let me see if there's any super chats. Whoop, I missed one. I'm a sub from the last 5 years. Even if you don't recognize me, I'm okay. Well, thank you. Really appreciate that. I'm going to butcher this. I'm going to try that anyway. Here we go. Ready? Prathish. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate that. And for sticking there with me. Because we've been up and down all over. All right. Scrolling down. Man, another super chat. El Camino Geek. Thanks for your videos. Modify the Shure SM50 out of my channel. Thanks tutorial. Nice. Awesome. I'll have to check that out, man. Sweet. Well, thank you for the donation. Oh my gosh, you guys are going crazy down here. We're gonna get through this here. Canadian $7. You're a rock star, sir. Thanks for the detail using two S5 Mark IIs, and that was what I needed. Sweet. It's DJ Buddha. Sick. Well, thank you for the donation. I'm glad it could help. Another one down here. You're ignoring my super chat. Sorry, man. I'm catching up. I appreciate you. I'm seeing it now. Good night. You guys are out of control here. $20 donation from Yosef. I have a 35mm full frame lens adapted to the Fuji X-T5 APS-C sensor. Should I set my IBIS to 35 or consider, oh, I see, or consider the 1.5 crop and set it to 50? 100% set it to 35 because you're not correcting for crops, you're correcting for the optical characteristics, and that lens is a 35mm. So yeah, whenever you're dealing with in-body stabilization, set it to the actual lens because, just because you had a crop doesn't mean the optics are going to change to a 50. So great question, and that's the answer. And thank you for the donations. Very, very generous of you. And we are caught up. So let's do a brief tour. I'm not going to go wild here because I want to stay on top of people's questions as much as possible. But let me see if I can do this. So first I'm going to wake up my phone. I'm going to go over to an app. Go into landscape here. And I should be able to use a keyboard shortcut. We're doing this live, boys and girls. I've never done this before. Like so. All right. And now I should sound like garbage because we're using the microphone on my phone. So here's what I see when we're doing these streams. There's all y'all's lovely, lovely faces and great questions. And there's my teleprompter and main camera. For shows like Camera and Flask where I'm using, or I'm talking to other people, I'll switch this to, instead of myself, I'll switch it to another screen where I can move a window and see all the guys. And that is connected to this Atem switcher here, so I can actually check all my different camera angles or just go solo and switch all that stuff. Got another monitor over there that's just a larger one. I use that primarily when I switch to my desktop so that I can see what's going on with my mouse. And then we got my MacBook over here screaming and very dusty. And then if we back up a little bit here, we'll just go on a little tour here. Maybe I'll do something weird. Let's see. I won't do that. Switch this camera back. So here's the desk in all of its filthy glory. I've done multiple videos on this setup. I don't think I've ever done a video on its current configuration, but the rack mount stuff, that's all been covered before. the camera setup mostly has been covered. What's different is I now have the computer and the multiple monitors. This arm swings out. So when I'm not filming or live streaming, it's right about there. And that's the jam. And then when I'm ready to film, let's see if I can do this with one hand. Oops. It swings just, infinity cam, swings just off to the side. And then I read the comments over there. And then the background I just switched up a little bit. So I had this workbench over there. I've moved it, obviously. Just a bunch of stuff there. Brought this desk over. And then I've done a video on this whole thing. One of my studio tours, I talked about this ridiculous setup, which is a little different now. I'm actually not using some of this stuff. So this aperture light, or Amaran rather, 100D, is giving me this action here in the corner. And let me switch to another side-by-side so you guys can actually see. Is this working, by the way? Let me know if this is working. Hopefully it's working. All right, let's see. How do I switch that? I think I've got one. There we go. So now you can see side-by-side. All right, so, oh my gosh. That light, you can see in the far right corner, is making that slash. And then we've got this light hitting a mirror, which used to give a big splash on the what's going to be the screen left, but I'm now just using it for this little sliver of light here in the corner. Brought in the desk. This is an aperture, what is it called? B7C, I think. I just use that for that little bit of light, just a little something in the corner. Amaran tube light, 4 foot there, and this is just for kicks, the Nova. This is going to switch up. I'm going to put another little desk here in the future. And then there's the main desk setup. I'm not going to go over all the lighting for that. Blankets all around. And then this is the rest of the space, which is a disaster because I'm moving everything around, shifting everything up. This box is going to blow your mind in the near future, but we're not going to get into that. But that's a video coming up. Little video village. So this is where my assistant stands. We've got both cameras hooked up there. There's our audio. So she chills there. And then this is the main space where pretty much everything else happens. So it's a disaster right now because I'm building something over there. Got my little B-roll cart, the ultimate key light, which we've already done a video on. I've done a video on this guy, which I love, use every single day. My production monitor, which I've never really done a video on, but maybe we'll do that someday. I've done a video on this guy, fill board, and then a couple other lights that I often use. So we've got the Amaran 200D on. This is the stand I was trying to remember the name of. What are you called? Who are you? Orbit stands or orbital stands. So this thing I just use when I need to slap light up there and get a bunch of soft light coming down. This is the B-roll top-down setup. It's a disaster, but I've got a light down here. Huge light, mount the camera there. I'm going to be selling these here pretty soon. These are leftover Atem Mini case bases. So we're going to put together a couple kits. So if you're interested in that, let me know. And you can still see there's remnants left over from the last video from all the paint stuff. So I got to clean all this up. Custom stand for holding all our stands, or rolling cart, I guess. Cables, and then all of the gear storage, and then another door with things behind it. So that is kind of the main space. There's another closet back here with a bunch of uninteresting things. And that's the main part of the studio. Then we have some offices elsewhere. But that's a quick mini tour. And hopefully you guys could hear some of that, I hope. Let me go ahead and switch back to the main setup. Okay, are we back? Did that work? Is the stream still going? I don't know, because I've never done it before. Sweet. Good. All right. Love it. Glad to hear that that actually performed. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, let's keep rocking and rolling. We'll go for another 10 minutes or so. You need to get a fancy director's chair for your assistant to sit in. Yep. Actually, there's a wicked stool we usually have over there, which it's like one of those like sit-stand desk stools. So it's got a really heavy base and you can easily adjust the height. Sound was just fine. Oh, that's great. Was not expecting it to sound very good. All good. Sick. What are you using for your photo capture? All right, so you talked about like thumbnails. So we use the A7 IV, so that weird looking black sit-stand desk that the camera's mounted to. I just flip it over into photo mode and we have all our settings separated. So it's ready to rock and roll, snap, snap, snap. And then I didn't show, but there's a aperture light that we use to make the yellow backgrounds in all my thumbnails. That's actually not paper, that's an RGB light hitting a wall. What's the make of the stool? Let's check it out. Let's see how fast I can do this. So NDI Cam is the app I'm using, by the way. The second I turn it on, this becomes available. And we'll just run over here real quick. So there's the stand. There's actually a fake plant on it right now. So let's see if there's a name on this thing. Nuts. I'm not seeing a brand. I'm sure you'd come across it pretty quickly, but it's really comfortable, nice and cushy. And then there's a little lever right here. So that raises it up. And then you can sit on it, obviously, push the same button and it'll go down. But as you can see, just kind of returns so you can lean on it. It's got nice rubber on the base there. So it's great for just sitting on. So it's really good for videos too. I used to use it for my YouTube videos because there's no arms. And usually I don't like to have arms on chairs just because it looks silly and people relax. But since I now work at the same desk I film, I'm just back to the Herman Miller life. So that's the stool. Amazing. I can't believe this is like working. Super nice when things work. All right. Do you rent or own? If owned, how do you qualify that kind of loan? So I do not own this building. This is a fairly large building, and there's, you know, the landlords work here as well, and I rent from them. So that kind of loan, I mean, I wouldn't take out a huge loan. Wow. Okay, water. I wouldn't take out a huge loan for something like that. I would probably build on my own property first. And then for the qualifying for that, I mean, good credit, all that kind of stuff. And it's by the way, this wing is 1,000 square feet. So it's not, you know, huge. Of course, if you live in a Manhattan apartment, that is large, but I don't live in Manhattan. So there's that. What kind of PC graphics hardware do you need at 8K? Don't know. I'm not a PC guy. Anyway, this fixed teleprompter glass. I don't know. 35 millimeter lens, full frame on camera as a webcam. Will it do? Tiffin filters. Which one is less harsh for a webcam look? I mean, this is 35 millimeters on a full frame sensor. So I think that's a good mix. Or 24 could also work. 20 could work too. That chair is indeed awesome. All right, I'm going to scroll down and catch back up, guys. I have one of those SKB cases sitting here, so looking forward to seeing what you did there. Nice. Any thoughts on LiDAR focus? Sorry, I'm bouncing around, guys. autofocus with vintage lenses. I have the C200. Thinking of Helios with autofocus would be killer. It would be. I mean, if it works, it works. But I've not seen anything that's really blown me away. DJI is the closest to usable. You're welcome, Fletch. Budget video editing monitor. I mean, Dell. So BenQ, Dell. Those have all taken really good care of me when it comes to like 4K nice monitors. They're not that expensive. You can even go, BenQ makes a 1080p monitor for like $200, I think. That's pretty decent. So if you can calibrate it, that's a great way to go. Hey, I'm thinking of getting a new card mainly for the 400 megabits option on the GH5. Would you go Lexar or ProGrade? I don't know. I've had both. Probably ProGrade, but I don't have anything to back that up. And if I were you, I might skip that 400 megabits. I mean, I would do some tests, right? I found that the 150 megabit option, 10-bit 422 long GOP, was great. You might need a transcode depending on your machine, but that's a lot less data. Great change. Oh. You own a Lambo? No, I don't. Fellow filmmaker, what's going on? If you had a preference, would you shoot handheld or gimbal? I'm a handheld kind of guy. Never really got into gimbals, but they're totally a usable tool. So I'm probably the worst person to ask about that stuff. Can you tell me how to build a video wall? Probably a TV or a really dark room with a big room with a projector. But I don't have any, hopefully the volume wall stuff gets affordable here. I don't know, Gene and Jude's, what that is. Do you think I could grade F-Log in HDR in Final Cut? I just bought the XH2S, wondering if I could show more dynamic range in Rec 709 conversions. I mean, the only reason to mess around with that stuff is it depends on your final output. So if you're outputting HDR to YouTube or to a movie theater that supports HDR, or it's to be watched in HDR, then go with that. Otherwise, you're not going to gain anything by editing in HDR, if that makes sense. Just set your project to 709 and knock yourself out. I have a barbecue YouTube channel, Bad Beast Barbecue. Nice. Barbecue YouTube channel. I've been using my Samsung cell to record videos. What would you suggest for a camera upgrade from the cell phone? That is a great question. Let me know what your budget is. I'm going to say, what is it, Sony EV12? Is that the more budget Sony camera? Probably that. The Canon, Canon R7. Oh, the Canon R5. Sorry, not R5. Let's do this. Oh, what's it called, guys? Help me out here. So I'm going to go to B&H. And what is the new Canon cameras that just came out? So the one that's coming into my head at first is the Canon R7. This would be a great camera. It's $1,500 though. Is it the shoot, a 10? R10? Is that the one I'm thinking of? No, maybe. What's the brand new stuff, guys? You would know. Anyway, there's another Canon camera that I have not used, and I think it got announced recently. Whoops. And that's probably what I would recommend. Something Canon is a really nice, easy way to go. Good autofocus. I mean, you can get that Sigma 18 to 35 millimeter f1.8 for barbecue. That's perfect. You can film everything you need to with that. So yeah, great question. And hit me up off the stream, and I'll try to get you a better answer there. Sorry about that. All right. Let's see. I'm going to scroll down because I think we've got a super chat. There it is. $5. Zetchen? I'm sorry. I'm horrible with names. Want a grade for Gamma 2.4, but my monitor can only handle 2.2 or 2.5. Should I choose 2.5 since it's closer to 2.4? Can I do 2.4 calibration? Those are all questions that I cannot answer, my good friend, unfortunately. But yeah, I would say I want a grade for Gamma 2.4. Yeah, I'm going to say go with 2.5. But if there's someone who knows... R50. Sorry, guys. I'm all over the place. I'm sorry I couldn't answer that more, but I think that's probably your best bet. Thank you for the donation, man. And sorry I didn't have a more exact... I'm not a monitor calibration, HDR, gamma. I don't have that all dialed in super well. R50, that's what I was trying to say. Thank you. So that's what we were talking about, Barbecue Boss back there. ZVE10 also. Yeah, R8, that's the other one. R8, I believe, has log, so you could grow into that. R7, you could definitely grow into really nicely. All right, so... Yeah, everyone's helping me out here down here. Excellent, excellent, excellent. You guys are amazing. So I think with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call it. I think this was, what do we got here? 4:54. So I'm going to try to do this more regularly. I know I say that and then I don't. But I really do appreciate how many of you donated today for all the great questions. Fantastic questions. Let's keep this going next Wednesday. I know I'll be on next Wednesday. So same time, same place right here. And I might start doing streams in the morning. So let me know if there's a good time for you guys. But I might every once in a while, instead of releasing a video, if I can't get to a video, I'll just do a live stream at, I don't know, 9, 10 Central Time here in the States. So for those of you who might not be able to tune in that regularly because of the time difference, maybe we'll dive into all that stuff. But thank you so much for all the kind donations, for all the great questions. You guys are fantastic. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and evening, and we will see you guys in the next stream or video. So have a great night. Thanks, guys.